Success, an accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thanks very much as always. Today we're going to be talking about the barrier that we have to break in order to be successful. Now, I've had a few experiences recently where I'm seeing that barrier in suppliers, I'm seeing that barrier in the way I work, I'm seeing that barrier in entrepreneurs that I work with. There is something in our minds that stops us from being successful. There is something in our minds that says, I'm not going to take that step. And the successful people around the globe have broken through this wall and have said, I'm not going to let it stop me, all right? There is something that says, there's that little voice in your mind that goes, if I do this, I might become successful, but I'm not going to do this. Or I will become successful, but I'm not going to do this. Why? Because I'm going to find a hurdle. I'm going to find a reason to not be successful. And I think that wall that we're building in front of ourselves is really just a wall of fear. It's a wall of, if I do this, something horrible might happen. It is a change. It is a difference. But the guys that are making it in this world have broken through that, have said, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to worry about what could go wrong. I'm going to focus on what is going right and what can go right. And that is how they're driving their success into the future. So let's talk about those walls and how we're going to break through them. Now, I know I got a little bit here into entrepreneurship. Now, just to be clear, success doesn't necessarily mean I run my own business, and success doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have an employer. Success is meaning that I'm achieving a goal in whatever it is. So that could mean I'm getting a better job. That could mean I'm getting a different job. That could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. So although I am going to focus on entrepreneurship, the method is, or the thinking is the same. I've got my employer and I can't do anything because I'm bound to this employer 100% and my time is 100% theirs. Well, your time isn't 100% theirs. You are selling 9 to 5. You are selling your ability to do certain tasks within a time frame. If you are not doing anything else with your time, that is on you, not on your employer, not on your circumstance, not on anything else. If you're choosing to come home and sit on a couch and not achieve anything else with the time that you are given to build yourself to achieve that point of success, and that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. That could mean greater spiritual growth. That could mean all sorts of things. So yes, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, but if you want to drive your business, this is a business channel. If you want to drive your business and you have a job, well, you need to start using the time that you have available between 5 and 5 a.m. because that is the time that you have available. Yes, you've got to give your all to your employer. And again, it could just mean, well, I'm not successful now, I want to grow within my career. Well, dedicate your time. I've seen it with sales teams specifically. A lot of salespeople don't consider sales a career, so they don't bother growing their ability as salespeople. They don't educate themselves. They don't go on training courses. They don't read books. They don't do any of the things that they need to do to grow themselves as sales individuals. And as a sales trainer or somebody that sells sales training, I'm astounded by this, because a top salesperson is going to earn more than a doctor time and time and time again, whereas people just don't bother. They go, well, I'm doing this between this hour and this hour. Being successful can be successful in the confines of your workplace as well. But if you want to do it as an entrepreneur and you have a workplace, say you work at McDonald's and you want to start a business, well, starting the business. Don't wait for somebody else to start it for you, and don't blame your circumstance. Your only option is you. You have to break through the wall and do what you need to do to drive through that fear, through that laziness. Okay, it's laziness as well. Let's be honest. We get tired. We don't always want to do what we have to do. But have the goal, write it down, do what you need to do and smash through that first wall, which is really holding you back. It's that fear of, I have to change, I have to do more, I've got kids to look after, I've got a wife, a husband, this or that, a mortgage, blah, 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 blah. There are a lot of excuses, people, when it comes to why I'm keeping my job today, why I'm not progressing my career, why I'm not changing. Because I'm worried I'm going to have to do this, or I'm worried I'm going to have to move into that, or I'm worried. Most of it is really just fear of change coupled with laziness, and we have 99% of the population, which is a population of people that say, I need a job, I do work, I go home, rest. Okay? As opposed to, I'm going to build, I'm going to get other people to get a job, do what they need to do, and I'm going to create something that's going to be great, and I'm going to live a life that nobody else can compare to, and they're going to look at and envy because I did what I needed to do to get the job done, and I had the foresight of thinking in the future. It's not about what you can achieve today, and I think so many of us, when we're young, man, I've been there. When you're young, you just think, oh, it's going to be instant success. It's going to be amazingly, once I'm going to start this business, I'm going to register it, and I'm going to be rich. Done. That's it. Not, I'm going to build, and I'm going to build, and I'm going to progress, and I'm going to change, and I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to go back. And the progression is going to go up and up and up and down and up and down and up and down and up. As long as I'm going up in the long run, I'm still progressing. And that is the first barrier. So your job, yes, you need one, but you got to get over the fact that you need one, and you got to push past it and break the first wall. I don't have the right education. What a wonderful excuse not to start anything. Well, let me ask you, have you heard of Duncan Valentine? Have you heard of Richard Branson? If you haven't heard of Duncan Valentine, guys, you do not need an education necessarily, and I'm not anti-education at all. Elon Musk promotes not even bothering to do a degree in many cases, but I'm not anti-education. I'm actually quite for education. I think it's a good marker, and it engages people and teaches people to think rather than think about specific things. But that's a whole different subject matter. I don't have the right education. Well, what does that mean in terms of stopping you from achieving your goals and your success? I don't know how to do accounting, so I can't start a business. Well, hire an accountant when you get rich, because really you need sales. Sales will determine how successful your business is, and once you have sales, you can pay for an accountant. You just need to be able to understand the basic fundamentals. Make profit, buy something, make profit, create something, make profit. That's all that you need to do to understand it from an entrepreneurial point of view, what it means to be successful. Now, there are different types of entrepreneurs. There's the corner shop that's going to make £20,000 a month. That's cool. Like, that's rad. And then there are different types of successes. But like I said, success is different for everybody. All you need to do is start. You don't need an education to start a business. You need to start a business to start a business. In fact, I would argue the greater your education, the less likely you are, because you will rely on your academics to drive your own success. So if you're a doctor, you're going to go into medicine. If you're a lawyer, you're probably going to go into law, and you're going to drive through your academia in terms of your success. But then, guess what? For those of us who aren't these professions, these professionals are selling their time, and they sell their time at a high rate, which is great, which is why they are perceivably successful. But for us little folk, we need to then think, well, okay, you're selling your time for an hour. Well, I can sell 50,000 products at $1 or £1 profit. So I'm making 50,000 profits a month, a week, a day. Certainly a lot better than 1,000 an hour, because hours are finite, products are endless. So think about it from that point of view. Education should not be your barrier if you can read. In fact, to be honest, you don't even need to be able to read and write. You can ask people to help you. All you need to do is get going, have an idea, and create that idea. Whether you start in a market, I've got a friend who started selling cell phone covers in the market, and within 1 year they had 28 other salespeople selling cell phone covers. This was then, obviously the game's changed around that, so I don't suggest that business. But the point is, that's what they did. It wasn't creative, it wasn't websites, it wasn't online, it wasn't anything other than they went to office parks and they went to markets and they sold their goods, and people approached them and started reselling the goods that they were bringing in. They had suppliers that were local. They weren't even foreign suppliers. They weren't even importing goods. They were just buying from local suppliers. They were utilizing local, warehouse type stores, and they were just putting a markup on, and they made a very, very decent profit out of it, to the extent that they had a warehouse and they had, like I said, 28 people reselling their products on commission. They weren't even being charged. They offered to sell their products, and that happened to be in cell phone covers. But I'm sure many people have that exact scenario where they're saying, well, they've got a service. There are loads of people out there that they just don't know what to do. They don't know what to sell. They don't know how to engage. They're not employed. They're looking for something. People are there to work. If you're the person creating it, you're on the top of the pyramid, which means you're driving your business into the future. So think about starting today. Just start. Forget your education. You do not need another course. You do not need to know how to do something. You need to learn to start and use YouTube to learn if you need to figure something out. I do it all the time. I built loads of different things, and I often go, well, how do you do this? Oh, I go to YouTube, and then I figure it out, and it's not that difficult. So start. Just dedicate your time and start, which brings me to my next barrier. You don't have enough money to be successful. Are you ever going to be successful? If your thinking process is that of, I simply do not have enough money to drive my own success. I don't have enough money to apply for a better job so that I can have more money. I don't have enough money to be available to busk on the street so that I can get more money. I don't have enough money to do the things that I need to do to be successful. I understand. Times are hard. We got bills to pay. I get it. But the reality is, if you got bills to pay and you're not covering those bills, you probably got to think about making more money. It's that simple. So what are you going to do? You're going to take on another shift at the local Tesco's or Aldi or Walmart, depending on where you are in the world. Go do 4 hours, make more money, invest that money into something. Take the time. We're just creating these barriers that we stop ourselves from achieving our own goals. And again, it's just laziness, people. It is just laziness. You do not have the money. I agree. You do not have the money to start Apple today. You don't have the money for that. You do not have the money to go into long-term product development or some creative app or whatever the scenario is. Trust me, I've got app ideas. They're going to cost me billions to make. I'm not going to make them. I don't have billions to start those businesses. FYI, call me if you do. The point is, you do have money to drive your own success. And that, again, people, is different for everybody. But from an entrepreneurial point of view, to get enough money to be deemed as successful, you gotta focus on getting these things going. If you're working at Walmart currently from 8 to 5, go work at Tesco the rest of the time. Go work, put in those extra hours. Go be a barman at night. Get the money that you need to get your dreams started. It might mean sacrifice for a year. There's an old movie, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's with Michael J. Fox, where he runs a hotel and he starts up his own hotel, and he holds that little can of money, and he gets his tips, and he just keeps it and keeps it and keeps it, and eventually buys his own hotel cash at the end of the movie. I can't remember the name. If anybody remembers the name, please drop it in the comments. The point is, money is not a barrier to your success. It cannot be a barrier to your success, because if it was, every single person that wasn't ever born into great wealth, and even then really, we're talking about the royals who started out wealthy and remained wealthy. We don't live in those times anymore. We live in a capitalist culture where everybody has an opportunity. We're not a socialist country where everybody's the same. We're not a communist country where everybody has to be the same. We live in capitalist Western world. And even if you don't, typically the world is capitalist, which means that everybody has the same opportunity. This is why capitalists love capitalism, is not because they like getting rich. It's because everybody has an opportunity to succeed, whether you are born in a township, born into poverty, or you're born into wealth. You've got an equal opportunity. Sure, the guy with great wealth, he's got more money and he can plow it in, and he can probably grow a little bit faster than the person who doesn't. But the guy here, the guy born into poverty, well, he can start and he can grow and he can grow and he can grow and he can grow. And at the end of the lifespan of these two businesses, they're probably in exactly the same point. Yes, it was a harder journey, but it's not impossible. And that's the difference. When you start realizing that nothing is impossible, that your goals, your dreams, your success ratio is not impossible. It is not a barrier that you cannot break through. You just have to smash through it. You just have to break through it. There are plenty of self-made billionaires in this world, plenty of self-made millionaires, specifically in our generation. All the YouTubers that are great, are massive successes right now. Not many of them were born into wealth. They had a cell phone and they had a dream and they went to it. There are guys born in Africa who had very little. They had access to a camera. Nowadays, we all have access to great cameras. So that opens up the whole internet. Look at this video right here. All of these opportunities, all of these things are on you. You have the opportunity. Money is not a barrier that cannot be broken. You just need to smash through that mindset of saying, I don't have, I can't do. Go get, go do. Okay, on this one, we're getting into a little bit more. I'm already an entrepreneur, or I'm already decided to start my journey, but I can't deliver. All right. This is a barrier that I think a lot of us face as entrepreneurs. I don't want to do the deal that's going to drive my success. And we're getting a little bit more detailed now. The beginning part of the video was probably more into starting, and now we're talking about actually becoming successful. All right. So I'm not going to be able to deliver holds back so many entrepreneurs from breaking the barrier between small business and large corporate or big enterprise. I'm not going to be able to deliver means it's often the difference between my business closed in 5 years to my business is now listed on the stock exchange. All right. This is a mindset that so many of us go through, which is that of, and often this comes from people that haven't worked in the corporate environment. They've never had that experience of corporate. There's this assumption that the big guys can do it better, all right? The truth is, the big guys cannot do it better. You just need to know that you can, in fact, deliver on your product. If you say that you can make 1 million orders, well, find a supplier that can make 1 million orders. Take the order and find the supplier. In fact, I've seen this happen so many times in corporates, even to the extent of some of the bigger banks, which you think, oh, these big banks, they've got it all covered. They know exactly what they're doing. They're gonna do it exactly right every single time. I signed on to a service with the bank, and they had no cooking clue how to deliver on their service that they offered. All right, but they got my sale, didn't they? And they probably got 100,000 others. So they figured it out, and then they went ahead and delivered on the product. Eventually, I'd cancelled my service by then, but they'd got probably about 99,000 other people that didn't cancel the service and carried on with the business. My point is, this is a big bank. You think big banks, they've got all sorts of checks and balances and blah, 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 that they've got to adhere to in order to deliver on the service. But here they are doing exactly that, taking on customers and not completing the cycle, all right? This is a bank. There are tons of companies that take orders and then find the delivery partner. Okay, there might be a small manufacturing concern. I've got a little welding company that does boxes, as an example. We weld boxes, and I can do 10 orders a day. 10 orders a day, great. But somebody comes to me and says, listen, I need 100,000 orders. Can you deliver? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You know why? Because I'm going to go to 5 other welding companies that do 10 boxes a day, and I'm going to get my 100,000 pushed out of them. That's how I'm going to deliver. So scale up relevant to your order. Don't scale up relative to what you think you're going to get. Get the orders. Don't turn away business if it's knocking on your door, because that is the difference between reaching that end goal of success and staying small and hustling to survive each day. It's often the reason that entrepreneurs just do not break that barrier. Again, this is a wall that so many of us face, and I've faced it in my own businesses. You just can't break through that barrier of like, ooh, you know, like, I don't know if I can deliver on this. Well, my attitude anyway is go for it, get the deal, then deal with the issues, because at least you got the deal to deal with the issues. You've got the finances to deal with the issues. You've got buy power from suppliers in your pocket. So often, you know, if you go to a supplier and say, listen, can you deliver on 100,000 orders? And they say yes, and you don't have 100,000 need, well then what are you really selling to them? Why are you going to them in the first place? If you've got the finance to say, I want 100,000 orders now, and I'll give you cash, and I'm going to pay you 10% or 20% less than I would have offered you if I didn't have this funding. Because when you don't, you've got no bargain power to buy with. When you've got cash in the bank, you've got bargain power. So you can actually go to those suppliers and say, well, this is what I'm willing to pay you. It's a completely different set of rules when you've got an order and you've got cash in the bank. So go out and don't worry. You got to worry about delivery. Nobody wants to deliver badly to their customers, but don't think of it as a barrier. Think of it as an opportunity to succeed. Think of it as, I'm going to fulfill this thing and I'm going to get the business. I'm not going to turn away big business. As a sales trainer, I am going to take on, if Microsoft, if Apple, if anybody massive comes to me and says, I want you to train the whole world on my product. Well, you know what? I've already got the solution for them. I've already in my mind thought of the solution. I already know how I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it well. And it's not because I've got this great framework of stuff that I've got going on. It's because I've got the ability to think, okay, well, if that happened, how would it happen? And now I'm going to make it happen. And Apple does exactly the same thing. How many times have we seen them launch a product that hasn't been quite right? Elon Musk has launched products that haven't been quite right. In fact, every tech business in the world has launched products that haven't been quite there yet, and they do it because they need to bring something to the market. They need the minimum viable product to go out to market, and you need to take those orders and then you put the bugs in later if you need to. I was watching a show, Jerry Seinfeld, talking about how when he drives past homeless people, talking to each other under a bridge, they're both homeless, they both haven't made it, they're talking to each other, inevitably one of them is giving the other advice. Now, as somebody watching this, we can kind of see the humor in that. You've got two people down and out, they haven't made it in their lives, and the one is giving the other advice, and the other one is listening to that advice. And the irony of it obviously is clear, but from our perspective, can we acknowledge when our peers haven't made it? Our peers are not where we are aiming to be. If you're getting advice from Elon, or if you're giving advice from Tim Cook, or if you're getting advice from somebody who has made it to the point where you're looking to make it, they've reached that point of success, take that advice, take in as much of it as you can. The problem is, in entrepreneurship especially, is that our friends and family do not have the vision. They cannot see the challenge. They cannot see the path. They cannot see the avenue that you have to take to get there. And they are going to put that wall in front of you again and again and again. Why? Because they are not there. They are not with you on this journey. And I'm sorry to say that, but we often talk about people supporting us. We're often talking about our spouses and our family and whatever supporting this journey. The reality is they probably won't. And that's why 99% of people fail and never ever start, because they've got people surrounding them who do not have the vision. They do not have the ability to see entrepreneurship as their goal. And they could be professionals. They could be very successful people. Understand that people have different visions, different goals, different ways of seeing things. Academic people lean towards academia. People that are in corporate lean towards corporate. They built towards that. Entrepreneurs are their own species unto themselves, and you are probably on your own on this journey, barring the people that you surround yourself that are also entrepreneurs going through the struggle. But in your daily life, I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably on your own. You're probably not going to be supported by those around you. You need to break this barrier, and you need to understand that they are not going to support you, or at least understand there's good advice and there's bad advice, and there's people that have relevant advice. Okay, relevant advice to your journey, because your journey is going to be different to that of others. I have great friends who are entrepreneurs who share their journeys, their stories, their struggles with me on a regular basis, and I share my journeys and stories because I'm more corporate. I've had a very corporate background. I specialize in sales training, and I'm definitely more corporate, although entrepreneurial in nature, and I've got my own businesses, but for the most part I've got a corporate background. So my friends draw on me for that corporate experience, whereas I draw on them for that journey and that startup experience, because that's where they've grown and that's where they've come from. You have to take bits and pieces from the people that are most relevant to your journey, to your experience. Do not surround yourself by homeless people and expect them to teach you how to become billionaires. They don't know how to do that. They haven't done it. Surround yourself by billionaires and ask them how to become billionaires, and they will be able to tell you. And it's different for everybody, but friends and family is a barrier that you have to break. You have to break. I'm not saying you have to separate, okay? Don't go get divorced or whatever right now because you want to be an entrepreneur and your spouse doesn't. But what you do need to do is sit down and have that understanding that what you are doing isn't the norm. What you are doing is going to take sacrifice. What you are doing is going to require your time and dedication. And unfortunately, this is why a lot of big CEOs end up with terrible marriages. And it's just a reality of the game. I'm in a great marriage, just by the way. There's definitely a balance that you can follow. But a lot of the top guys don't have great marriages. Steve Jobs, terrible marriage. Elon Musk, a bit of a warped thing. But then you've got other sides to the coin where the guys are, stable and have found that foundation. But the point is that you need to sit down with your relevant people, and you need to pick and choose who are relevant to your journey. Do not take advice from the guy working at McDonald's telling you to stick to your job, because he's working at McDonald's sticking to his job. If you're working at McDonald's, there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, by the way. If you're working at McDonald's, cool. But if you have a journey and you want to reach a certain level of success within your own life, you need to follow a different pathway. So you cannot follow the path of the guy that doesn't want to be on your path. That's the point of this barrier. So you've got to break through it, but you've got to understand that there are certain people in your life that are useful, and there are certain people in your life that aren't useful. And I'm not saying get rid of all of your friends, get rid of all your family, get rid of your children, get rid of your everything, because at the end of the day, they bring something else to your life. All right, these people are important, but they're not necessarily important to this specific element of your journey, and you need to break through that in order to achieve your success. So you need to communicate with your spouse, you need to communicate with your family that these are the sacrifices I need to make, and I am on this journey, and that is an open channel, and there's going to be give and take in that, especially if you're in a marriage, especially if you have children. There's going to be give and take, but you have to identify the path, and you have to stick on the path regardless of what the people around you are telling you, because they're not on your journey, they're not on your path. Let's have a breakthrough, people. Thank you very much for watching any longer, and we're all going to go a little bit nuts. So until next time, I will chat to you later, but thanks very much, and let's have a breakthrough. Look at your barriers, start your businesses, start your channel, your road, your journey to success. Make it happen, and I will catch you next time. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.